We'll go one at a time, and then we'll dive right in. All right.
Yep.
All right.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another episode of the Pig Pen Pod. We like to play in the mud. This topic today, we're going to be talking about the running back drama. But first, let me introduce all of our beautiful people we have here. Let's start at the top. The man, the myth, the legend, Noel.
What up, everyone? My name is Noel. I'm just, big sports fan for the most part. Just wanted to hop on and talk to my boy Jimmy about, some sports, baby.
Beautiful, beautiful. And my man in the other corner, Rob Bob.
The other corner. What's up? I'm Rob. I'm just a guy, just a random dude. I'm Jim's boy, talk some football. Yeah.
That's all you need. That's all you need to be. And of course, the man to our right, our favorite guest, our favorite co-host, Windora.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Just not a big sports fan. Doesn't really center around my channel. Do mostly gaming stuff, but I'm always here to talk about all sports and any sports.
And here we all are. Running backs, are they important?
No, not really.
Damn, I thought there was.
Is this open? Is this open to the floor? I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, I'll jump right in. I think, historically, and that's why the market is what it is. Historically, it's never been important. And this isn't really that new of a thing that running backs don't get paid. It's just now running backs are smart and they know their career is only going to last so long, so they want to get that money before they get the big injury.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I just think they're more aware of it, but no, I don't think they're important. I think whatever that big contract is, you pay your running back all that money. If you split that money up and give it to your line, and you just put some scrub back there, you're going to get better output, than a good running back and a shitty offensive line. So that's what I think.
So I would say I agree. Do I think they're important? I guess they're important because every position is important. But do they deserve the money that they're kind of wanting and desiring? No. And I feel as though the biggest issue with all of this is, well, look at the running backs who are speaking up and speaking out against this whole notion that the running backs are being, discriminated against in terms of, not fair play and not fair pay compared to other athletes, compared to other football players. You got to look at Saquon Barkley. He has a history of injuries. He has a torn ACL. He missed several weeks with a severe ankle sprain once. Christian McCaffrey, to the point where the Niners who traded for him didn't even want to play him the last 2-3 weeks of the season because they know his injury history. And you just got to look at the fact that Austin Eckler is preaching so much about how he's so underpaid and running backs are so underpaid, but he is one of the people that kind of
yes,
not fell victim, but what's the word I'm looking for? He kind of took advantage of the whole situation. Yeah. He took advantage of this. Melvin Gordon was the running back. Melvin Gordon was the running back for San Diego. Constantly got hurt. Austin Eckler came in as an undrafted running back. Pretty much did what Melvin Gordon did. Fit their scheme better, especially with his pass catching. And now here we are. So it's if anything, the running backs have themselves to blame in a sense because the running backs that weren't highly touted, coming into college or weren't first or second round draft picks have done such a good job on successful teams like an Isaiah Pacheco for the Kansas City Chiefs, who wasn't the starting running back going into last season. So if anything, blame the star running backs for not, living up to expectations or exceeding expectations. And you got to blame the lower tier running backs for exceeding expectations. So it's kind of just a terrible situation for them. And I think Nick Chubb said it best that they're kind of handcuffed with no other outs. There's no really other options for them.
They really thought they were going to come up with something too, and they had these little FaceTimes and these little group texts. They're not all thinking the exact same things.
It's funny that Austin Eckler is the one who's spearheading it because he is the one that he's not the first one, but he is one of the most notable ones in my mind that, like, other than James Conner, like when Melvin Gordon held out, he was holding out into the year. Like Austin Eckler is one of the main backups that basically cost Melvin Gordon money. He cost another big running back this big contract. Yeah, I don't know. That's just it's just funny that he's the one he's almost the poster boy for this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think with the development nowadays coming out of college with the modern QB that's basically a dual threat, I think that also kind of maybe puts a little bit of fear in those guys because they know that, oh, not only can they throw, but they can run, and they can run for massive yardage. You know, take your Mahomeses and your Allens and all those guys, and they know that, you know, they don't really need me to be playing this position in order for them or the team to be successful.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's actually a good point because, like, when you look at the Eagles, like, they have Hurts. So, obviously, when they were the past couple of years, when they were the number one rushing team in the league, I think 2 years ago they were too. And Miles Sanders missed most of that season. They did that with mostly Hurts and then running back by committee. You know, like, it wasn't one guy.
Mostly smaller guys, too.
Yeah, it's not the days of Sean Alexander getting like nearly 300 carries, getting you 2,000 yards. Like, that just if you're going to have a guy like that, he's just going to wear down, and they don't want to do that anymore because they know they're going to get hurt. Like, and historically, when you look at teams that win, the stigma that you need, like this franchise running back, that kind of, it seemed like it kind of was pervasive in like the 2000s. It all came from Emmitt Smith and the Cowboys. But like, other than them, I can't really think of a good example where that worked. You know, like, having most teams in history that win the Super Bowl, like, they're always defense and a great quarterback. That's the way. And honestly, offensive line, I'll always say is way more important than running back or any skill position other than quarterback. Quarterback's the most important position, obviously. But, like, if you have a good offensive line, like the Patriots, they, other than Randy Moss and, you know, they had Wes Welker, guys like that, like receivers, they never had like big names. Running backs, they never had big names. It was a constant carousel of like different names all the time. But they always had Brady, and they always had a good offensive line, and that's why they were so good. You know,
and it's crazy because
there's
countless examples. Smith, and what did Emmitt Smith have in those '90s teams? He had the best offensive lineman and had the best run blocking fullback in Daryl Johnston. Yeah. So it's like, that's kind of like what you really needed. And, you know, a lot of the great running backs you get into like the 2000s and even the 2010s, think about all of the injuries they sustained. You know, like Terrell Davis is a Hall of Famer, but his prime and his career was what, 5 years, 6 years? Yeah. And then he got hurt. You have players like Todd Gurley, and that's the one thing, a lot of these younger running backs, Todd Gurley was like probably one of the first running backs that they looked up to from like when they were like in 8th grade and they saw him in high school. And then when they were in high school, saw him at Georgia, and they looked at, wow, I want to be Todd Gurley. Well, look where Todd Gurley's at. He's out of the league because his knees were deteriorating by the time he was 25 years old. And he did get a decent contract, but he never got, like, he didn't get multiple contracts. He didn't have staying power. So I think a lot of the time it's just like, this is what it is for running backs at the end of the day. And it's just like how Robbie said earlier, like, they're just more aware of their situation. Yeah. But is the situation going to change? No, not really, because at the end of the day, they have to stay healthy. All of the top performers have to perform at the level that they think that the money they will be getting would equate. So it's kind of like on them in the sense of like, well, all right, now prove us wrong. And I don't know. I am a betting person, but if I was to bet, I would definitely be betting against the running backs just because that's what history tells us. A running back shelf life is not going to be as long as your star quarterback, a star receiver, your offensive line, and your defensive line. It's just, that is how the NFL has always worked. Not just now, It's pretty much always worked, and especially now in a pass-happy league. And when Dora talked about it, there are dual-threat quarterbacks now. You have Hurts, Lamar, Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes. They could run the football if need be. So, what do you really need at the end of the day? Why am I going to spend, $12 million per year on a premier running back when I could just sprinkle that out on the offensive line and worry about my star quarterback?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just something also to the fact that like these are the best running backs in the league and they can't get a contract. Like it's just something like if it was like a quarterback, you'd be like absolutely like what are you talking about? Yeah, there's injury concerns, but like this guy put up 2,000 yards or something like that. Like put up like something crazy. You can't like Dalvin Cook like besides the like the court stuff. You know what I mean? But like Dalvin Cook is just like not signed cuz he's what, old? He's 20.
Not even. I don't. Yeah.
Is he?
Right. Something like that. He's not that. He's not.
They're gonna definitely take if they really want a solution. They're gonna have to end up taking some L's, and I think that's gonna have to like. Unfortunately, it might just have to be that they're gonna have to sign a year-over-year contract like that, where they just get they'll get like 10 million, but it'll only be for a year, and it might not be a lot guaranteed, and it just might have to be like that after they get that first rookie contract over with.
Some of them might settle for like a playoff contract where like as the teams get closer to the playoffs and they might need just a little bit of a driving force and they might take this guy or this guy or this guy and they'll be like, all right, come with us. We're going to see how far we go and then we'll figure it out later.
Yeah. I saw somebody on Twitter propose an idea to kind of mitigate all of this where you would be allowed to spend money outside of the cap for running backs. But that just kind of seems like almost pandering for no reason to me.
To a certain degree, I kind of would like that, but that's not more on the running backs. That's my whole issue on the NFL salary cap as a whole. Just because out of all the sports, like NFL's the only one that has an issue when it comes to like guaranteed money versus non-guaranteed money. Like in the NBA, like it's kind of an anomaly for you to get a non-guaranteed contract. In baseball, in baseball, you have like minor league deals. That's like kind of like your equivalent of like a non-guaranteed contract is like getting a training camp contract or getting a minor league contract. Whereas like in the NFL, it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna pay you, we're gonna give you 5 years, $60 million, only 25 of it's guaranteed. So what's gonna happen? But if you are not a super duper star in that final year, we will be cutting you. Like that's just kind of how it works. So I've always had an issue with the NFL in terms of that and like the franchise tag. So like that's the issue with Jacobs and Saquon. They don't want to sign their franchise tag tender. And I don't know if Robbie knows, but like how many years can you get the franchise? Is it 2 years that you can get it?
It might have changed because I think at one point it was 2 years, but I think now it's just 1. But I might be wrong about that. I want to say it changed at some point.
But I remember Kirk Cousins got it 2 years in a row, and like that was a big deal. He was like, "What if I get hurt?" I remember that.
And Le'Veon Bell, I think too. Yeah, I think they changed it because of Le'Veon Bell, but I could just be making that up. I want to say they did though.
That's just like such a just terrible situation. Like you get franchise tag, and like that's pretty much all you kind of have. It's like what 3? You could get it 3 years.
3. Wow.
3 times. But the contract has to increase each time.
Gotcha.
And it's still 3 years?
Yep. As of March 3rd, 2023, this Sports CETA article.
See, if that would be the first thing. Like, not that it's going to – I don't think it would solve the issue, but that would be the first thing that has to change because 3 is way too many. I mean, especially for running backs. They're going through their whole rookie contract. Then they tag them every year. They're probably not going to make it through that tag period before they have, their injury or their where they start to wear down. Because, I mean, look at Todd Gurley. He was, 28 when he started to have, like, obviously he had knee injuries for a long time, but, like, when he really fell off, he was not that old. He was pretty young
too. Like that was like the playoffs. It just like it was like watching a totally different human being out there from like regular season to postseason with Todd Gurley, just like his knees. And Because it's like with the franchise tag, if it's 3 years, like in the NBA, you have your qualifying offer, and that's like only a year, and then you're an unrestricted free agent like right away.
Right.
And that could happen. How young the players are. You could be an unrestricted free agent if you do 4 years qualifying offer. You could be 24, 25, not even hit your full prime yet, and then you could still get a big contract. By the time these running backs are able to really get a good contract, let's say they keep getting franchise tagged after their rookie deal, by the time that's like 28, 29 years old, because you got to go to college and at least play, or at least be in college for 3 years, whether it's you redshirt, play 2 years, or you play 3 years.
That's the other thing too, is the college thing. By the time these guys get in, I mean, not everybody's playing. Most of them are maybe just playing their senior year. They're not playing all 3 years, but still, you're getting all these carries in college. That's adding up. I wonder if not that they would ever do it, but if they could figure out something where running backs could enter the draft earlier or something like that. I don't know. I just think because even guys like DeMarco Murray, where he didn't really have an injury, but you remember he was getting 300 carries a season, and people were like, it's going to catch up to him. It's going to catch up to him. And then he got his big contract, and it did catch up to him. It's like every time they get their big contract, the team is punished for it, for giving them that contract, it never works out. Well, it never, most of the time, it doesn't work out most of the time. Todd Gurley, I feel bad for Todd Gurley, because I feel like him and Le'Veon Bell, but Todd Gurley, I feel like, was the last time the guy got a big contract, and it's almost like the whole league, used that situation to, decide how they were going to do things moving forward. After that contract, I think a lot of teams were like, we're not ever doing this. They saw how it worked out. And I think it's just happened too many times.
It's crazy that Dallas saw that and they were like, "We're still gonna give Zeke that."
I was just thinking
true.
that they were
That's
like,
true.
"Yeah, we're gonna pay him all this money, and then we're gonna put him at center for our last play of the season."
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Right?
He's still unsigned. He's still a free agent.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
man,
That's crazy. I completely forgot about that.
Would you pay, let's say Nick Chubb right now was like, "Listen, I want a 4-year contract, 4 years, right? Just 4 years. Let's say he wants he wants $14 million a year. Nick Chubb, would you do it?"
I would want to do it, but I don't think he's getting up there. But I don't know.
And that's the issue, I think, because it's
well, it's also Deshaun Watson is ass, so that's a whole nother problem that you got to adjust first.
We're not even going to get into that contract.
$230 million guaranteed.
Yeah.
The other problem is it's not even just that they wear down. Even if they play to their potential, a lot of the time it just isn't worth it for these teams. If you look at Adrian Peterson, he played deep into his 30s and was pretty good the whole time, and he had multiple contracts. He was always good, but how many times did he really have a winning team? Sometimes it just doesn't translate. I think putting that much money into one position that you can get away with 3 guys in committee and get the same production, and you're paying them $20 million less.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even a question. It's just most of the time it just isn't worth it, even if the guy is great.
Look at the Jets. We had Breece Hall, and then you had what was it first? Michael Carter was doing really good, and then he got injured, and then you just plugged in another rookie.
Yeah,
that's just how it works.
Yeah,
it's just
LeGarrette Blount is a 2-time Super Bowl champion on 2 different teams.
That's
as
true.
The primary ball carrier,
and he made $2 million each year.
Drafted.
Yeah.
And it's not like he's a Hall of Famer. He was like, he went undrafted, he turned into a Hall of Famer. No, he turned into a solid, okay running back. But the teams that he played for had the best offensive line in the league for that season. Put in LeGarrette Blount, and then boom, they make a Super Bowl run because he's not awful. Like that's it. Don't be bad. Like don't be Trent Richardson. Like
don't
not
fumble
be
the ball.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any like legitimacy to these like claims that like they're talking about suing the league and all the owners are conspiring against the running backs? Are they just angry and talking shit or?
Well, I know like Josh Jacobs before he signed the franchise tag, he said, "I will play on the tag if you guys bring in some wide receiver weapons," which the Raiders have not done, and all they've really done is now gambled on a QB who may look like might not even pay it down for him. So,
and not only have they not done that, they also are talking about apparently Hunter Renfro's like roster spot is in jeopardy. So they're not only not getting more receivers, they're getting less.
Yeah, they are regressing terribly
in every aspect, in literally every aspect. But thank God their stadium is brand new.
Right.
Yeah, there's no conspiracy or anything. I feel like it's very like see-through as to like what everyone does know with running backs. They are grasping for things. Like I saw a report where like they are considering, exaggerating injuries to a certain extent. Like maybe like, oh my hammy isn't like instead of a 4 to 6 week pulled hammy, it's gonna be like 8 to 10 week hammy or something. I don't know, because then are they gonna want to do that and then miss like a big chunk of the season, and then you won't get a contract for next season? So like,
you're just gonna get
replaced. That will
just
make it worse.
Yeah, he's just gonna get replaced.
It'll make everything worse because I mean, the problem with Saquon, like I feel like if anybody was going to get this contract, it would be Saquon. But the problem with him is the injuries. He's been injured basically every season he's played. Like, I don't know. I don't think faking an injury is really going to help him get a contract if he were to do that. I think if that's their idea, that's not only will it make it worse for them, it'll make it worse for everyone because the teams will just chalk it up to these guys just are not worth the investment. It's too risky of an investment because that's all it comes down to. It comes down to finances. Like, it's a shame that they're not getting paid. Like Jimmy said earlier, like it's crazy that like these like great running backs are not getting contracts, and it is. And it's even crazier because like these guys are usually like the best athlete on the team. Like they're the most athletic, they're the strongest, the fastest, all that stuff. And they're just not getting the money. I don't know. It's just, I think it's I don't know if that'll help. The injury thing, I think it just, I don't know. I think it's not going to go anywhere.
Because you are put in such a terrible spot. Because, like, if you're Saquon, like, you were the only person that was on the Giants. You had Daniel Jones messing around, being a goof, and then you had what? You had nobody else but him.
I saw Sterling Shepard tear his ACL jogging on their home field turf. I was like, yo, that was the craziest thing I've ever seen. He jogged and tore his knee blew up because he jogged at the end of a game. Never seen that before.
Hey,
I think like they did need to like understand what the market is, I guess, because it's like another thing I have an issue with the NFL is like a lot of the time like for instance like I want to use quarterbacks as an example. Everyone thinks Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback and the best player in the league, right? Okay. So shouldn't he be the highest paid quarterback? Like, and it shouldn't even like there shouldn't be a debate after that. So then you have quarterbacks like Daniel Jones who's like, well, I want $45 million, but am I better than? But then like the realization has to come, well, am I better than XYZ that are below me? So I think that's like another thing with like the NFL and like salary cap stuff is like a lot of the time it's like I feel like a lot of times there's just not a market where this is the ceiling and this is what the best player is going to get. Because it's like in the NBA, it's like sometimes like that, but in MLB, it's really like that, where it's like Shohei Ohtani's probably going to get like $600 million. Why? Because he's the best player and no one is going to surpass that. It's just, I feel as though like that is just going to happen. And like with running backs, I think the best way they should do it is be like, look, I might want 10, 12 million, but let me try to take 8 and just let me get a couple more years of security on top of it. And I think there needs to become like this middle ground of like, what is our market value? And I think they really want the big number. Obviously, like who doesn't want the big number? But I think they need to come to the realization, like, okay, maybe the years are what's more important. So maybe I might have to take down like a few $3 to $4 million less just so I can get the years that I want. And I think that's kind of like what they need to come down to. And then that starts the market in place for the premier running backs, like the Saquons of the world. So maybe like 10 million each year for the next 3 to 4 years, and then boom, there it is. Because I think he wants what, like 12, 13, 14 range, maybe, I'm assuming. So that's how I would do it. Just like kind of like, aim high for what the end goal really should be.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of these players also need to realize, and it's like you said with the ceiling and the stuff. I think it's a lot of these guys that are trying to push for. It's like, well, I may not be better than this guy, but I need to at least make a team believe that I am, so that they'll pay me this big contract.
Yeah, it's just like understanding what your true value is at the end of the day. And do you like does Saquon? Saquon's the best player on the Giants. He is their engine. Should he be getting paid a lot? Yes. But like how we keep on talking about with the running backs and their diminished value and stuff like that, you gotta just be self-aware of the fact that, like, man, I'm not gonna get the contract I want. So if they're really gonna keep on lowballing me, all right, let me get an extra year then. If you think I'm only worth 10 million and I think I'm worth 15, that I'll take the 10 but add an extra year onto the contract. There has to be a give and take at some point. That's why it's called contract negotiations. I'm a big NBA guy. This is the thing I hate about stars that get contracts, because there's never any negotiation. There's never any like tug of war in terms of the negotiation. It's like, how much can I get? Oh yeah, I want that. And the NBA team's just like, all right, bet. Like Jaylen Brown's about to make $300 million, and he can't dribble with his left hand. So, and it's just like, because there's no negotiation. In the NFL, it's just like you gotta negotiate, but at the same time, like I said, you need that self-realization of what your position is, what the value of your position is, what other teams look at the value of that position, because it's not just the Giants in Saquon's case. It's not just the Raiders in Josh Jacobs' case. It is the collective NFL, not over the past 5 years, probably over the past 15 to 20 years, maybe even longer than that, where we know what the value of a running back is and how you can replace the running back you have now with whether you get a 4th round draft pick, whether you get an undrafted guy, whether you get a guy on his second win. Because, like, prime example, look at someone like Phillip Lindsay. Comes in undrafted, plays for the Broncos, has 1,000 yards. What do? They replace him, and you never hear from him again. That's just how it works. And
I believe we signed him. I think last season we had him.
Yeah, he was on Houston, yeah.
Did he play it like how he got in like every other game?
He
right?
got in. He got in. He didn't play everything. He did do some decent. He did have some decent production, but with Damon Pierce and everything that he was doing, it was hard for him to get in those minutes.
And what pick was Damon Pierce? Like what round was he?
Oh, shit. I don't quite remember, but it was one of those like it was like that Arian Foster type deal. Where, I mean, Arian Foster went undrafted, but when we got him and he started playing, it was like, where did this guy come from?
Yeah. I want to say Pierce was like I want to say he was like 3rd round, something like that.
4th
like
round.
He was mid draft or something.
4th?
Oh, 4th round.
It was a 4th round draft pick.
Yeah.
And you get a 4th round running back, like, years. Like, you're not wasting any money. Like, 4th rounders, they don't even have, like, big guaranteed money at the end of the day. Like, you could give them a bonus if you want, but like you don't really have to. So I feel like that's just kind of how it is for running backs.
Right.
They're not even getting big rookie contracts because they're getting drafted later and later and later now. Because teams, again, they know that these guys, they can get them in the draft, but they can get the 3rd string from some team, and he might end up sufficing for their offense.
I could sign right now, like if I'm an NFL team, I am going to just sign all of the SEC like 3rd string running backs that could have probably started at like Nevada and I'm just gonna like put him on my roster, put him in training camp, and be like, Coach, tell me if he did good or not.
Mm-hmm.
And if he did good, guess what? We got him for $500K. Let's go.
Yeah, forever.
So that's the thing I'm wondering. I'm wondering, like, because of this whole contract thing, and I want to know what you guys think. Not anytime soon, obviously, but over the next 20, 30 years, because of how little running backs are getting paid and how they're going to be paid, and they're not valued that highly, you think that as the guys coming in the league, the guys going into college, the guys going into high school, obviously, are they going to stop trying to play running back and try and play other positions? And is it going to become a more scarce thing for you to get that, star running back? And then maybe that makes it flip the other way. And then it becomes a rarity to have a running back as good as Saquon Barkley. Right now, I feel like there's so many good running backs and the problem is they always will wear down. It's the most physically demanding position in football. But I don't know. I think there's so much talent. Talent is abundant right now, especially at that position. And I just think that might be contributing to it too. And that maybe because of this, it'll kind of swing back and forth. I don't know. It hasn't really in the past. It doesn't really feel like there's ever been a time where running backs were scarce, but I think now more than ever, there's like more than there ever was.
I don't think so.
There's always going to be people that want to be like. There's so many 2 million college kids that graduate every year from football teams and all that. There's going to be at least 10 that could fit an NBA roster.
Right.
No matter what, no matter any year, even if they know because they gotta know. They gotta know that they're gonna get worked hard and they're gonna not make a lot of money and it's a grind and you're gonna get injured. It just is what it is.
The other thing about running back is even though it is physically demanding, it is the most physically maybe tight end might be the other one, but it's one of the most physically demanding positions in football. But like mentally, it has to be the easiest position. Like you don't have to be a genius to be a running back. I feel like even receivers, they have to know all their routes. And some running backs like Kamara and Bell, like they're great route runners, but 99% of the time a running back is, he knows where his blockers are going to be, and that's pretty much it. And he just runs the ball and holds onto the ball. So I think that's the other thing. It's like versus quarterback, I think you have to be a lot smarter. It's harder to become a good quarterback versus a running back. If you're physically talented, you may not have to work as hard, and that's why it's so abundant. Why there's so many guys that can do that.
I just think,
and also why it's not valued.
I just think like running backs. So the reason why I don't think running backs will ever kind of fade into obscurity more so is because when you're a lot of times when the running backs growing up, when they're playing pee wee football and playing in high school and stuff like that, running back I feel as though it's the equivalent of the shortstop in baseball, where it's that's kind of it's sort of the cool athlete position in a sense where it's you could be a quarterback, but a lot of times it's well, are you tall enough to be a quarterback? So it's these guys might be 5. Let's say a running back's 5'10", but
that's changing though.
It is
that
changing.
Is changing.
So I'm just I don't know. I just feel as though in high school, if you're gonna be the number one running back, I feel as though it's just gonna be wired in your brain oh, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
And it's kind of think about it I don't even know maybe how centers used to be in the sense of just oh, I don't want to play center. Well, I mean that's kind of a height thing in a sense, but I just don't think running backs will kind of die out because it's a lot of the times when you see outside of quarterbacks, when you see a high school highlight reel, what position would you see? A running back. I feel as though running backs are really cool up until you get into the pros. So, and by that point, it's a little too late. You've already established yourself as a running back.
Yeah.
That's the only position I could think of where it's super cool to be it until you actually make it to the ultimate end goal.
Well, nowadays, kids are so big and growing up, they're just these physical specimens at like 10, 11 years old. By the time they hit high school and they hit college, they're gigantic. And they're just like, by then they've already had a little bit of wear and tear. So you can understand, because I don't think it's going to fade away either. I think it is as a position, it's always going to be there, because there are always going to be those kids and be like, I want to be the next, the better than your Barry Sanders, your Derrick Henrys, your whatever. So they're always going to want to strive for that, which is fine. Go out, get your bag, whatever. But yeah, do I think the position will fade away? No. It's just nowadays kids are built so differently that you've got 6-something QBs in high school, and I mean, like, I'm 6'1" at 30 years old, and that's short compared to other quarterbacks in the NFL. So just with all these kids, the way they're built, they're just going to keep going. These positions are going to keep kind of not thriving, but they're going to be there. It's just these kids are going to always want to drive that.
And it's easy for those kids too, because it's like when you're playing like, young, like pee-wee type football, if you're the biggest one out there and you're also fast, it's the easiest thing to do. We're just going to give you the ball and then you just run through all the other little tiny kids.
Sure.
Derrick Henry highlights.
Derrick Henry highlights.
Literally just the giant guy on the field.
And just run through all of these little toddlers.
Yeah. Looks crazy. If I'm an NFL player, though, I feel like every other position is kind of like looking at these guys like, dude, they're just kind of yapping. Like, it's a hard cap, so like you're essentially arguing that every other position should receive less money so that I can get more. And I'm sure they look at that and they're like, it ain't gonna be me. It's not gonna be the line. It's not gonna be the two lines. It's not gonna be, I really can't think of like maybe linemen. Do you think the linebackers are gonna be the guys?
Well, I think what it is. One, I think I disagree with you. I don't think they are thinking that way. I think they probably understand it, and I think just obviously they're on the team. They see every day. I think they see that these guys get beat up. They probably understand where they're coming from, but what you're saying is where it's going to come from, where it should come from, and what we can get into it. But where it should come from is the quarterback. The quarterbacks are paid. Obviously, they're so important, but their contracts are so inflated. It's unbelievable, and it's why running back, someone had to take the hit to get quarterbacks paid this much, and running back is what has taken the hit. That is one of the huge reasons why this happened. Now, will that change? Probably not, but I don't know. It depends on like how some of these, like, say Hurts contract. I think it'll end up being good, but say it ends up being bad. Will teams start to try and do what the Eagles did with Wentz and Hurts, and now every time this guy's rookie contract is up, we're drafting a new quarterback to save money? Because the Eagles, they made the Super Bowl on his rookie contract. And build your team around a rookie quarterback and see if he can get you there. But, I think back to running back, I think it's just I don't think those guys are thinking that way. I think they're probably understanding where these guys are coming from. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's tough because it's on both sides. It's like I get why these teams don't want to pay them, but they are so good. It's crazy. Some of what these guys are getting paid is too low. I don't know.
They're legit. Like for the quarterbacks, like contracts being inflated, there needs to be a hard cap just for them. I feel as though because there needs to be some sort of tier ranking or something in terms of their contracts. Just because, like in the NBA, you have, if you make an All NBA team, your potential pay increase will bump up. If you make an All-Star team, your pay potential will bump up. Same thing if you win MVP. Like it'll bump up the more accolades you accumulate. And I think that needs to happen in the NFL because Daniel Jones is making too much. Someone like Dak is making too much. all of these players are making, like all these quarterbacks, are making way too much money for the lack of accomplishments. They need to do something and incentivize being an all-pro, being a Pro Bowler. And I'm not talking about Pro Bowl alternates either. I'm talking about being in the original Pro Bowl roster. And I think those should be incentivized. And then, hey, if you don't crack that, the most you can make is X, Y, and Z per year. Because then you have so many different types of contracts that are being given out. Like Deshaun Watson gets a fully guaranteed contract, and then Lamar's like, well, why can't I get that if I won an MVP? I've taken this team to the playoffs. I've been here. I've been healthy. I've never been suspended. This whole stuff. And they're like, well, that's not our problem that this team did that. And then it leads into someone like Daniel Jones, and then like Pat Mahomes is probably going to get overtaken by probably Justin Herbert whenever he gets a contract extension. Like,
yeah,
there needs to be some sort of a limit, because I don't know who's the highest paid quarterback right now. Is it still like Aaron Rodgers per year?
I thought they redid Mahomes' contract after Hurts got paid, so that he was. Like that. Yeah, I think because it was Hurts for like 5 seconds, and then I think it was Mahomes again.
Also, the NFL needs to really stop. I hate restructuring contracts just to be like, oh, we're going to restructure this contract so it could fit into a bonus, and we create $15 million in cap space at the most randomest moments. No, you sign that contract, Stick on that side. Don't be like, we're going to create $15 million so we can sign it and stay on that side.
So the highest paid quarterback right now is Lamar.
Yep.
Oh. And then it's so it's Lamar. It goes Lamar, Jalen Hurts, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson,
yes,
and Kyler Murray. Those are the top 5 highest paid quarterbacks right now.
So they didn't redo Pat Mahomes' contract then.
They probably put it into like bonuses.
I thought they were going. I thought that's what they did.
So that's the problem right there. Mahomes isn't even top 5, but Kyler Murray is.
Kyler Murray. Oh my God.
Like that's the problem. Like you just need to incentivize being like the fact that Pat Mahomes is a 2-time MVP, 2-time Super Bowl champion, and like multiple-time All-Pro should mean he should be able to get $50 to $60 million per year. And Kyler did Kyler win Rookie of the Year? I want to say he did.
Probably. I don't know.
So Kyler, if you won Rookie of the Year, you made a one Pro Bowl. There you go, Kyler. Like you made a Pro Bowl team and a Rookie of the Year. The most you can get is 40. Let's say 40 to 45. That's the most you can get.
Mm-hmm. He's a top 5.
That should be a cap.
He's top 5 right now, and he could reasonably. Like, I could see him being cut in like the next 3 years.
Let's have a look at Daniel Jones though. Like, I don't see Daniel Jones after his contract. Like, I feel as though that contract is gonna last maybe 3 years max, and then he becomes a journeyman backup. Like he becomes like Joe Flacco. How Joe Flacco's been the last like 3 to 4 years. Like that's what I see in Daniel Jones. And his cap should be at like $25 million because he has not won. He's never been a real Pro Bowler. He's never been an All-Pro. He's never been a Rookie of the Year. He's never won any accolades. He just made it to the playoffs. Like his cap, if there was a cap, would be 20 to 25. And then guess what? We wouldn't be in this predicament, and Saquon can get potentially like $14 million per year, and their cap wouldn't be in their salary cap wouldn't be that that harmful for the next couple of years. So I just think like the NFL should really I feel as though there are so many different options, and I don't see them going into any of those options.
Yeah, so but Daniel Jones made that running. He almost had that running touchdown, but then he fell down.
He fell down.
It's worth
he did the funny. Yeah, it's worth $40 million. He fell down.
So the only problem I have with like changing any of the cap situation, especially for quarterbacks, is like if you look at, because it's such an it's the most important position on the field. Like if we compare it to basketball, like in basketball, you see all these star players, they get their max, and then they try and get to either New York or LA. That's every star they want, or Miami, you know. The NFL has a history of not being like that. I think one of the reasons they're not like that is because teams have been able to keep their quarterbacks by giving them these ridiculous inflated contracts. So yeah, on one hand, it's bad and it's inflating the market for quarterback, but I think it's nice that like Indianapolis and Indianapolis can have Peyton Manning for 10 years or whatever other city, Arizona.
Like Aaron Rodgers with the Packers, he was there forever.
Yeah, exactly. Green Bay. Like, I think there is something to be said for that, and that's good. I like that. That's one of the pros of the NFL. It's just small market teams aren't really like a thing, honestly. It's everybody's kind of on the same playing field. I think that's like one of the best parts about the league. I think it's why it's so successful. So, I don't know.
Kickers need more money.
How much? Well, who's the highest paid kicker right now? Is it Tucker?
Probably Justin Tucker. He probably gets like $2 million a year. There was a thing, Justin Tucker makes more money than a lot of backup running backs, and that was like a meme.
So, yeah, it's Justin Tucker at 24. It's 4 years for $24 million.
So he's getting like $6 million a year.
Yep.
Like ever.
So
that's crazy. He's getting more than almost every running back.
Yeah, that is crazy. But like kickers are scoring like.
They're the highest scorers. They're the highest scorers.
But even though they're getting that much money, the reason why Tucker's getting that much money is because kickers are expendable, but not at the same time. It's not like you have a backup kicker that you have like right away at your disposal. You have to go out there and kind of look for one. And in some cases, you could have a good kicker you think is good. Like look at Rodrigo Blankenship. He was good for a season, had a rough couple of weeks, and then boom, they kicked him to the curb. Like, so it's not like kickers are not expendable. They are. It's just like it's just hard to kind of replace them if you don't have a backup plan and waiting. It's like your running back could get hurt like that, and if you have a good O-line, that second string running back is probably going to do the same, if not better. Like when Dalvin Cook got hurt, the Vikings had Alexander Madison.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
did the same exact job. And then they were like, okay, we don't need Dalvin Cook anymore. Zeke and Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard was way better than Zeke this past year. And they were just like, listen, we don't need Zeke anymore.
Yeah.
Even though he might be going back to Dallas, apparently.
That might just be the setup that they do now. They might just have their running back that they pay, and then they just have two that they just like pay as minimal as possible. And then when one gets injured, they just bump it up like that, and they'll just keep rotating them like that or something.
I'll be a running back for like $500K right now.
Easy. I'll get injured in the first play. Aaron Donald picks me up and snaps me in half like he's Bane and I'm Batman.
You ever see like those questions with like, can you get how many?
I know
a million.
How many carries do you need to get like a first down or something?
Yeah.
Or it's like you get $1 million if you get 5 yards on 10 carries.
Bro, if I had Eagles offensive line, I promise you, I could do it in
couple years.
10 tries.
You get a first or get 5 yards?
First down. 10
okay, but do they know? Are we getting like full packed box blitz?
No. If there's no point. Nobody. You could put Eric Dickerson back there if it's a full box. He's not getting the first
pass. If there is an option of passing.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
So if it's just like a regular game, and then like whenever you come in, there's like is he gonna do it kind of thing?
It's just me back there, like.
I think a better way of doing it is like you're at the goal line, and it's like it's first and goal at the 1 yard line.
Oh, I'm getting
and you score a touchdown.
I'm getting that.
I want to say yes, but I'm gonna like jump right at the line and get crushed, and I'm gonna be like, I can't do this.
I'm a fake jump and then roll right and then just walk into the
What will happen is I'll dive in and it'll be like that episode of Always Sunny where Mac he's doing the hockey shot and he gets knocked out and then he's like, did I make it? Yeah, I'm gonna dive in, I'm gonna get knocked out, I'm gonna be like, did I get a touchdown? You know?
That's what we
you actually get
concussions.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. That's true. So true.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's too heavy, bro. That's too heavy. I don't want to talk about that. We don't need to talk about suicide today. Suicide rates.
Man.
Oh man.
I have nothing to add. I don't think, other than I was thinking about their contracts and stuff, and if running backs got like a special, because running backs, most of their contracts, like we're talking about teams trying to utilize their rookie contracts, right?
Yeah.
If running backs were able, the one position that were able, but people are going to abuse it, so they could never do it. But what I was thinking about is if running backs were able to negotiate their rookie contract versus none of the other positions are, so they could get as much money as they could, as they could. That might be a way to fix it, but of course, then you'll have guys that go out as a running back and they're really a receiver, or something like that. So
what about,
I don't know. You can't really do it, but
what about instead of your rookie contract being 4 years, if you're a running back, your rookie contract's 2 years?
Again, I think it's fun. It's good, but I think again, guys will abuse it. They'll say, "I'm a running back," and then they'll play something else.
They'll pull a Tebow. They'll pull a Tebow.
Tebow or Deebo Samuel, like their receiver, but he's kind of a running back. I don't know, I think it's hard. It's hard to do it. And even like the idea I was thinking about, like maybe like a positional cap. Maybe each team gets a certain amount for each position, and I don't know. Even that, like, what makes Deebo a receiver and not a running back? And it's all this. It gets too complicated. It just messes stuff up. I don't think there's any way.
Positionless football, bro. Like, that's what we
positionless football.
Everybody is 6'1",
Chuck Bednarik on both sides, playing D end and
bring back Bo playing both sides of the football.
Yes.
No, we need a player coach.
Yes.
Let's get a player coach.
Do you think
I've always wanted a player coach in person? Like, I've always wanted to see. Like, I'm jealous that, like, with basketball, like in the 60s, that there were player coaches. I would have loved to see, like, be like, you're out, and be like, coach, and be like, nah, man, I'm putting.
You're playing like fucking ass. Get out.
Yo, we suck. Like, aren't you on the team, bro? Aren't you playing?
I'm running your plays. Yeah, I know. You buns.
I would be the worst player coach. I'd be like, all right, this is the game plan. Give me the ball and let me score. 1, 2, 3, break. That's my game plan.
The 30th time today, coach? Yes, for the 30th time. Yes.
Oh, we'd never practice because then I would have to practice. So we don't practice. Worst player coach ever.
Mm-hmm. But, hey, at least you put up like 30 points a game.
That's all that matters.
That's all you need. All right, well, I'm thinking about wrapping it up. Anything else? Any final thoughts?
Nothing. That was my last stupid thought.
Fair enough. All right, everybody. What do you call it? Don't introduce. What's exit? What's that word called?
Oh my God! Why am I?
See yourselves out in order of how we. Give your goodbyes in the order that
we're saying goodbye. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys go.
Where can we find you? Where can we harass you at?
You could follow me on Twitter at Noel Guerra, NoelGuerra _ on Twitter, and then same thing, Noel Guerra 4242 on TikTok, where I post like all my hoop grid stuff. I think I might start doing some like sports betting stuff and show all of the terrible all the terrible ways Vegas tries to cheat me, including today with Martin Perez, but I'll leave that for TikTok. So yeah, follow me on all of that.
All right.
You can't find me.
And a man of so few words. Love to see it. All right, Windora, take us away.
Windora, you can find me on YouTube at Windora, Twitter at Windora _YT. I'm also on TikTok at Windora. So